Hi everyone. It's really nice to have you again on this beautiful and wonderful episode of Ball Business Explain This. Today, I know all of us were rushing out to watch the Spain Belgium's World Cup game, and hope you've been enjoying the World Cup so far. Today, we are going to be dealing with questions faced by a lot of licensed agents, especially now that we are in one of our busiest moments in the industry, which is the summer transfer window. And for newly licensed agents, if you have not done any deal or you are not working on any deal at this moment or at this point in time, I will tell you not to stress so much about that, but keep your spirits high, do the groundwork, make all your contacts, make all your connections, continue, showing up as we all started that way. I remember the first summer in which I didn't do any deal, just licensed then and very excited, tried, pull all the strings, but nothing even came up. Promised my player, okay, you know what, during the window, we'll do this, we'll do that. But nobody, is getting any deal done. I'll just tell you if you're just newly licensed, newly qualified, and during this summer you feel things are moving slowly for you or slow for you or not as expected as you want, I would say you keep your spirits high, keep it up, and don't be discouraged. So yes, on today's episode of Ball Business Explain This, we'll be treating just 5 questions, and I will allow you guys to enjoy your Spain versus Belgium's game. And you can drop your predictions in the comment section as well. And remember, I told you guys, if you have any questions, any contributions to this chat, you can always put them in the comment sections. We'll read out your questions and we are able to answer them. So the first question that we'll be looking at today, and yeah, shout out to you, Omar Al Ani, for 4080. Said you're looking forward to it, and I hope you are live now, listening to us. This is first question came in through the email. It says, I made transfer and just found out one of the FAs, one of the FAs involved has opened a case against me over a paperwork issue on a completely unrelated deal from last year. Nobody told me formally. I heard it from another agent. What actually happens next? Procedurally, and can this quietly affect the deal I'm working on right now? First, we need to get the facts of this case. With this facts that you've presented, we will try to be, filling bits and pieces. And I would want to assume that this deal is also a deal in the FA in which are currently, or these allegations, or this case, or these issues is currently happening in the FA in which you are currently trying to push a deal. So, first of all, I would say as an agent, one of the first things that you need to do, and this is not a blame on you, the person who dropped the question, is to constantly update your contact details. You're not getting the information means probably maybe your phone number has not been updated, probably you changed the phone number, or you put an email that you no longer use or you don't regularly check. If it's still the same email, you should be checking your spam. So for example, for me, everybody knows my email is funbiogofo@theballbusiness.com, and that is the email I used to register all um, my agents, FA, business related issues online, and you don't want to miss any emails as an agent. So now looking at the questions that you've asked and the issues, you know that as a FIFA licensed agent, you can register to as many FAs as you like or as you're qualified to. For example, I myself am registered with English FA, the Nigerian FA, Filipino FA, Netherlands FA, to mention but a few. In short, anywhere that we've done a deal, one or two, I try as much as possible to register with your FA there just to be compliant. So if the FA in which you are facing these paperwork issues is completely different from the one you are doing now on a completely unrelated deal from last year. So I want to assume it's a different FA. Maybe the FA in which you're getting the issue is from the Italian Federation and you're working on a deal in Spain. That would not affect the deal you are working currently on, unless maybe you're going back to the Italian Federation to do a deal. So first of all, I would say how it will affect your current deal will determine where the issues are arising from. Then procedurally is for you to find the email that has been sent or the paperwork issue where the problem has come from, and for you to tackle it. Gather all the evidence, speak to the agent or the friend who told you about this, get the facts from him. If you cannot find out yourself, send an email to the FA that is being affected so that you have your own facts and proof. Then that way you can now respond. So usually it's majorly maybe on a licensing issue or on a deal or commission issues. Then you just need to get that fact. Then you reply. Then the next steps will be communicated to you. If you need further help with this, just send an email, and we are also able to help. But guys, please try as much as possible to update your contact details whenever you can, wherever and whenever. So yeah, I hope this helps and answers your question. The second question is this one says a more experienced agent offered to handle the club side conversation on a deal I am leading off the books, no formal sub mandate, and take a cut once it closes. It's common practice apparently. Is this actually allowed under FFAR, or am I exposed if this ever comes out? I like the way you framed these questions because there's a saying that we all know what we are doing, and I'm glad that you said this person is a more experienced agent and offered to handle the club side conversations on a deal that you're leading. So if he has offered to, I want to believe that he's doing the club side and you're handling the player. If that is the case, you don't need any mandate for that because you are both handling different clients. So what I want to believe is probably you introduce them to the club or you introduce them to the offer and you still want to get a piece of the pie on that other side. Well, I would say that should be possible if he's handling the club side, if you guys have a gentleman agreement, but it can give you as a gift, but it is not allowed. And I want to believe you've passed your license, you know what FFAR standpoint on this. But let's say you guys are working on the club together, that is, you guys have similar or same clients, or you're either representing both the players or both the club. In this case, you said the club. So I want to assume you're also representing the club. You need to get on a mandate. He's more experienced, he knows this. If you are representing the same client and that client is yours, or you just need his help, you need to get on a mandate. This is looking back at 2014, the story of Barry Hughes. And this is a very classical case. You can check it on Google. Barry Hughes is spelled Hughes, and this is in 2014 in a deal with Leeds United. And there's a guy, which is the licensed agent here in this case, which would be you who is asking the question. His name is Derek Day, Derekday. And what Derek did is, they just put up a shabby contract and things like that. And he allowed Barry Hughes to work on that deal without a license and a mandate or something. Then the English FA found out and they were fined. And I think the fine was approximately up to 250,000 pounds, which is a lot of money then, and I believe it is still a lot of money now. And you can risk getting suspended if this is ever found out. So I would say if you need to do a joint or a collaborative work, you should just get on the mandate. Even for me, I remember working with Gustavo Spagnoli. He's Brazilian. He works in the English. He works in England, but he's Brazilian, and we are trying to move. He's trying to help me with a player from Nigeria. I had to drive down to Liverpool to meet him there. Uh, we sat down and we did the business. We did the mandate, jumped on a call, jumped on a video call with the player, and that happened. So even for unprofessional players, I would still advise you get on a mandate because it's better for you to be safe than sorry. So yes, you will be exposed if this ever comes out. The next question. I've only ever worked men's football. A women's club just approached me about a player I don't formally represent yet. Do the same registration and approach rules even apply? Or am I about to break a rule? I don't know. Am I about to break a rule I don't know exists? Because I assumed men's and women's football worked the same way. This is very interesting one. To be very honest, men and women's football, in terms of deals, in terms of approach, have the same rule. If you see the FIFA statute, you see the RSTP. Nothing really changes. The only time women's football or the rules surrounding women changes is when it comes to their holidays, their maternity leaves and the likes. That is when this route changes. But in terms of approach, I would still advise you to approach it the way you approach men's football. So you need, first of all, you need to find out if this player is on an exclusive deal or an exclusive rep agreement before you approach this person. If he's on an exclusive deal, I believe you need to speak to the agent, put up a mandate, like I was just saying the last question, and then you can discuss. If you found out that she's not, then of course go ahead, approach. Make of course you want to believe she's not a minor. And if you're asking, oh, how do I approach, the burden is on you to know how you find out if she's on a rep agreement that is exclusive or on a rep agreement that is not exclusive. You need to do that work. You need to break those grounds yourself. And there are ways you can check. You can check with the FA, the roster. You can check on transfer market by just simply googling the player. And of course, the rules are the same, the facts are the same. The only things that are different, probably maybe procedural, is the transfer windows. The men's window is different from the women's window. So you can't do a deal now if it's outside the calendar of the women's window. So you just need to check, and these things are FA to FA, they can vary. So I would tell you to do your own research and make sure that you're not breaking any rule. But in terms of registration, the rules, the same rules apply. I am a licensed agent. I completed the work on the transfer, but the club is now claiming my services were not properly rendered and is refusing to pay. What do I actually need before the tribunal will even hear this? I'm very sorry to hear this, my friend, whoever sent this question. A lot of clubs are on the habit of trying to shortchange agents, especially hardworking agents who has put their grit, blood, and sweat into this, and it's very sad going through all of this pain, going through all of this negotiation period, and they don't want to pay you. Usually, I would say you should share a part of the blame, just like Egypt versus Argentina. A lot of conversations around that. I feel so sorry for Egypt, but I still feel Egypt need to also take a portion of the blame for losing two goals, throwing away two goals. That's what I'll say. Throwing away two goals in like 15 minutes. If you're a licensed agent, when you're completing your transfer, you need to check. Recently, we've done a deal in Australia, and trust me, I was jumped on a message with the guy who is in charge of the club in Australia, TMS, to tell him when you are uploading, I need you to make sure that you have put our name because that's the first time we'll be working in Australia for that deal. Just make sure our name is there as the agent who concluded this deal. Of course, the Australian window has just closed, their second window. So, and this was just, I think, last week Wednesday. So it was on the deadline day, last week Wednesday. So we're up in the morning, the Australia time different than in a different part of the world. And even though sometimes in my sleep, I was like, guy, have you make sure that you put our name? I want to see it. Even on the agreement with the player, the contract that the player is actually signing. Because your question is, what do you actually need before the tribunal? And one of the key things that you need is the player's contractual agreement. This is different from your rep agreement. I'm talking about the contractual agreement. And it will always show, is this contract negotiated by an agent? If anyone is listening today, if you don't take anything out of this conversation, I want you to take this out. Whenever your player is signing a new deal, is renewing his contract, on that contractual agreement, you need to make sure that your name shows or your agency's name show represented by this so person on that contractual agreement that this person used an agent. Even some clubs, I always tell them clubs that are not using agents because we represent some few clubs. I tell them, okay, this player is not using an agent. Make sure this player signs or tick a box on one of the appendix that says, I have decided not to use an agent in this deal just because of issues like this. So for you, who is a licensed agent, I know this is sad. A lot of clubs take advantage of that, but you should have asked. And also, um, you need to, for all agreements, no matter how small, try as much as possible to ask lawyers. There's a popular saying that you might as well not want to use a lawyer now because you feel it's expensive. But by the time you want to now realize that you need a lawyer, it will be super expensive. So apart from a lawyer, ask people that are experienced. Okay, there's a link to join the ball business community. Ask people in the community that have done this before. Recently, one of our players is on trials and in Turkey, and one of our very strong community member is Turkish. I had to just tell him, okay, hello, one of my players is jump. He just got to your country today. He's in so and so club. He's going to be trialing with them. Actually, there were two. One was in I think the south of Europe. One was around Eurasia. And I told them I was carrying them along not because I needed anything particularly at that time, but because if the need arise, it wouldn't be coming out of the blue. And trust me, the trials didn't go well, guys. And I carried him along, and the club were not. I don't know if they are still going to sign the player, but we are going to look for another opportunity for him. But why am I saying this is even though I know I'm experienced, I know what I'm doing, but because it is a new country, a country in which we've not done a deal before, I still needed to carry somebody along who is a community member. So yes, guys, please always do due diligence. And to answer your question, what do you actually need before the tribunal? You need charts, evidence of your charts with the club, with the player, to show proof that you actually concluded this deal. Your rep agreement, of course, with the player, or your rep agreement with the club if you represented them. And thirdly, the contract itself, the contract in which the player signed, I mean, employment contract that the player signed, or the employment contract the club gave to the player. And these are the things that you will need with the tribunal. And if you're listening, if you have more questions, because today is going to be a very short one, I think it's just one more question before we go watch the World Cup. So yes, last question. And shout out to you, Mr. Ben Tumishe. Thank you for is the one behind the studio always, and thank you for your hard work. Yeah, I'm an agent working on a move abroad. I brought in a local fixer unlicensed who knew the league and the club contacts I didn't have. So you can imagine, similar story I was just saying now. He told the club things about my player that weren't true to speed things up. And now the club believes I lied to them. The deal and my relationship with that club are both on the line. What do I need to do right now to fix this? Did I do any wrong by bringing him in? I think I might have to sip a coke before I answer this question. There's a lot of unscrupulous people in the industry. You didn't do anything wrong by bringing this person in. I was just sharing a story in the last question for anyone who's just joining us. When you go to a new country or when you're trying to do a deal in a new country, of course, you can't even just fly there. Even if you can fly there, you still need somebody who is experienced in that country. Just carry them along, tighten that connections and things like that. So if you have a fixer or somebody you believe is more experienced than you in a new country in which you are trying to secure a deal, you've not done anything wrong for bringing him along. The person is just the person is just who he is for spreading lies or saying things that are not true. And how do you get out of this? If I were to be in your situation, or if I'm in your situation, this is what I'm going to do. I wouldn't explain myself too much because there's a popular saying that people that would believe you, you don't need to tell them anything. You don't need to explain. People that wouldn't believe you, even though you write a book, they will still discredit the source of your story or of the book. So explain to the club, send them an email, write to them, call them, whoever you've been speaking with. The player who is going to engage with the club is one of also an ideal way to also speak to the club since the player is there. Tell the player, okay, this is the situation. Speak to the club. Let them know that you are not this person or these lies that has been peddled are not true. But one thing you shouldn't do is to over explain yourself. Never over explain yourself to anybody, especially in this industry. Remember, I said anybody that wants to believe you does not even need you to explain yourself. Anybody who wouldn't believe you, I'm telling you, if you do a podcast like I'm doing, they'll find reasons to discredit your story. So even you trying to explain yourself, saying too much, even makes the story that they say is untrue now looks true. It now makes you look like a liar. For me, I really don't do so much of an explanation on things that people assume. I just let it slide. I explain my part of the story and dead it. But welcome to the business, welcome to the industry. So a lot of people would want to get ahead, and that's why it's very sad. People hoard their contacts, people hoard their connections, and they try to be middlemen. And because of things like this, because they know, okay, if I give you this contact, then you can start saying things that are not true. And people do it because they want to impress this new club or this new agent so that they can start getting favors, or they believe or assume they are going to be getting favors. So I'm sorry this is happening to you, and you can just tell your side of the story and move on. Yeah. And believe me, if they really want the player, regardless of what the stories are, the club will fight hard to keep the player. Like I said, a good player is also a very good asset, and nobody wants to lose on a very good asset. This is the last question today. I don't know if we have time to take one more question. And okay, I'm an agent working abroad. Okay, this one says, I'm managing a transfer across two countries with different domestic associations rules layered on top of FIFA's framework. When they seem to conflict, which one actually governs? This is classical FIFA agent exam question, to be honest. If there's no international dimension or international framework, so let's say, for example, I'm Nigerian, the player I'm representing is a Nigerian, the club is in Nigeria. Trust me, as long as the rule does not conflict with FIFA's framework, the Nigerian FA rule takes precedent because it's a domestic transfer, and that's what would take precedent. If the player is an international player, the FIFA framework would always take precedence. But there are strict rules regarding maybe minors, fees, and all of those things. So I would still say look at what it is and ask questions. Ask people in the community, ask people that you know. They are able to guide you in countries that you have little or no experience. I remember we were doing a deal. I think it was one of our first deals in Dubai, and then I think the player is a Nigerian. Is on the Nigerians were on the red list there, and I didn't know how to navigate it, international transfers. And easily, I picked up my phone, called a friend, actually a community member in the Ball Business community, explained the situation, and was able to solve it. Solve it. There's no harm in collaborating. There's no harm in asking for help. And yeah, I hope I've answered your question. If there are two conflicting issues, depending on what the facts of the cases are, the domestic one will take precedence if all of them is pointing towards a local dimension. If it's an international layer, then the FIFA's framework uh, would work. And saying you are managing a transfer across two countries is an international transfer. So with different domestic association rules. So the question is a bit complicated. Probably maybe in regards to players' registration or them moving around. I know for Sweden, Sweden is very notorious for taking young players, then sending them back to Africa if they are not up to a certain age. So yes, if that's the issue, ask around, and they are able to help. If you have any questions and you're listening, please send a message, and because those are our last questions. And of course, thank you so much, guys, for supporting. And remember, if you're working so hard, keep working at it. If you need help, reach out to us. Use the operating system Ball Bridge to help you do your deals. A lot of people are doing that already. And of course, Belgium versus Spain. Let's enjoy the game in the next few minutes, and let's see who comes out on top. May the best team win, and hopefully, we don't have another issue of VAR this time around. Thank you so much, guys. It's nice talking to you. It's your friend, your favorite agent, Fumbi. Take care, guys. Bye, everyone.